Julie here with Sirius Dallas Moon. This is Moon Hour Mercury Day, and the Moon is in Leo, squaring Mercury and Mars. Midheaven is 1 degree Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter in Cancer, 23 degrees Cancer, that is squaring 22 Sun in Libra, and Chiron and Aries in Aries. Ascendant ruled by Saturn, and I want to make a video response to Elizabeth April. So, Elizabeth April is a remote viewer, and she actually teaches a course on astral projection and remote viewing. Um, I've asked her about practices for target individuals, because once a person does something like that, then they basically need to protect themselves, and I'm waiting for her response, which we could all learn from her skills of protecting herself. And this is important and touches on a point where I mentioned Annika Luka's Shifting Powers course, um, which is a great introduction by a person that has seen all the wealth consolidation and all the ritual abuse that are done. And I'm waiting for Elizabeth April to tell me whether she has protection from being targeted individual. And I'm a great believer that neither the astral realm nor the ability to live and travel in the physical realm, nor the cosmos is a private real estate. What do I mean by that? I mean by that when it comes to astral projection, no one has the power or the right to power over the astral realm and the connection with, whether it's angels, archangels, astral projecting, okay, remote viewing. Nobody has the right over that sovereignty. In fact, my essay that tended to the politics of the senses in my academic research tended to exactly that topic, that nobody can decide for the people whether they develop psychic abilities, don't develop psychic abilities. In fact, to develop psychic abilities in a way that is embodied rather than by trauma is better and yields better information. And those intelligences and organizations that tap into the astral uh, by violating sexual sovereignty, okay, they bring fragmented information, and basically they are used for economic hitmanship, which is under classified projects to funnel taxpayers' money to target individuals to become homeless. Now, here is the shadow work on a collective level, because the shadow work is, for example, countries like Finland, people pay taxes, but they solved homelessness by actually providing permanent housing solutions to people. And this is where our collective money, whether it's by taxation or by any type of making sure that by the community that people that gone through a crisis or people that come to or they come to spy on the place actually get housing first, get believed, and this is where they would have better conditions than those that come fragmented and were violated. And there are intelligence failures after intelligence failures when it comes to the type of training that is done to people, the no-touch psychic and psychological torture, MK often, the actual torture, which is physical torture. Both of them are torturous, which is MK Ultra, and similar projects around the world. When the method of the intelligence to achieve the information is showing us whether it is used for economical hitmanship, which is basically an attack on the light, or if it is used for sovereign projects. Okay, and actually, they even the attack on the light, they always have to give a creative. They basically need the creative power to do something, and then they try to get that creative power by traumatizing that creative power, but then that creative power does fragmentally manifest things into the world, um, and this is how Rockefeller gave women the right to vote because he could tax women too. But also, it came about that the suffragists that died in the concentration camps, um, their energy that was stolen from them in the dark rituals basically manifested the death of those who were not ready for a free woman, men and women, in the war. Okay, but also when a person is oppressed or a person is raped, this is a hidden Holocaust that booms out to a megalithic event. And in the aftermath of the war, women got the right to vote, and they had the right to open bank account. And another thing that we need to be aware of is that there was an attempt, because they trafficked women, and because those women, that even though they were trafficked and they were working ladies, um, they still developed their skill. They still developed a lot of the things, whether it's um, erotic dances that later people learn as sacred dances, and so on and so forth. Because and that that is important. However, a lot of traffickers capitalize on that to try to convince people that they will have the feminist revolution by basically uh, being raped and having to go through a great length to reconnect with the sensual expression, and have the closest approximation to power by raping men or dominating men. And again, I don't mean safe, sex, consensual kink. I mean, okay, and this is where um, those things are still not at the level of sovereignty. Okay, actually, as an astrologer, I talked even to women, and certain women knew that, for example, a lady wanted to have a daughter, and she knew that she has something with her own inner child to solve, and she liked to play power games with men through her sexual power. Okay, and she told me that she enjoys to control the men, but when it comes to her own orgasm, then that's something that was missing. Okay, but what actually is embodied orgasm that requires relaxed arousal, that requires the safety to let go, and and that was kind of like a eureka where that thing needs to be tended to, because this would both change her dynamic with men that would not be participating in those toxic power control relations, what people or what men call narcissistic. Okay, um, that is, yeah, um, and at the same time will allow her to bring child or bring even a girl to the world, that she can have happy, safe relation with the girl. Otherwise, the healthy sensuality of the girl and the children usually they bring something to the world in regarding to sexual sovereignty. Okay, for example, even me as a child, when my parent was writing, then I was the one that gave them encouragement. I like write the sex scenes, write the things like write what you express yourself and so on. And I edited the book, so some people would say that's intricate and questionable. But this is something that me, the child, knew that sexuality is okay, whereas the previous generation kind of like was in dissociation, or like they were never really exploring that area in a safe, and consensual way. And and that's usually to bring the, like, if a parent knows to tend to these topics within themselves, they're less triggered by um, their own children. Okay, for whatever. Okay, and also the children are less susceptible to what they call the network, and the network is a lot of the sexualization agenda of children, nervous system hacking, and the less embodied people are, the more they're susceptible to that type of hacking, and so on and so forth. For example, when I was greatly tortured, um, two things I remember: that I was doing a doggy sitting and there was a picture of me, and then the nose of a dog next to me, and there was something that looked like an erotic undertone to that. And I remember that I posted that on Facebook. So that was a time when I was like really, really tortured. And another time when I was really, really tortured, there was a cat that was sitting in a certain position that, and I think they do hack into the nervous system of pets. We see it very obvious now, but I think the previous cat that there was like a tree-colored cat, and on my Spirit and Matter channel, I think that can be seen. There was a picture which was like there was some sort of thing that looked like an erotization of a pet, and that's exactly what this is exactly why sexual sovereignty and embodiment is so important, because when people are tortured out of the sexual sovereignty, basically they have less the sovereignty to see that something is wrong at a certain time. Okay, that they identify less, both when it comes to perpetuatory situations and when it comes to others. Okay, and even if they feel something is wrong, they don't have that. Hey, that is no, that's a no. And this is exactly what sexual sovereignty does, that grants sovereignty. Now, I want to address something that April said about the Illuminati, and she talks about the wealth families that run the Illuminati versus the members, and the fact that I think all of us have been seeing the incessant attempts to recruit people, because, hey, those things of promises of money and power are not really like people want money. People want to stand in their power, and for the money to be a money of making a life or making a living, to have for the money to have the energy, okay, of something that is happy to trade and joyous and wealthy and safe and sane, okay, which comes to the wealth consolidations, but also the rituals around the issuing of currency. Um, there was an ex-banker, there was a whistleblower that began to do stuff around that. I know that very likely they tortured him, and he had to. But even then, he said that he's still doing crimes. So, do attempts either using his energy or whatnot to traffic or to rob people or to do any stuff like that that makes it challenging to cooperate on an entrepreneurship. And this is a good thing to open that to the conversation, because a lot of the people that are the whistleblowers, they come out, they're entrepreneurs, and they we need to have an open conversation of how do these people get to shed, okay, the crime if they so choose to, and actually do entrepreneurship that is free of the treason code. Okay. Now, one of the things that April mentions is that as per actors, and the reason that people see hand gestures is because it is a way for to signal that the people that watch them agree to. Now, here's the thing: sexual sovereignty dictates the conditions for consent. So, people that are not sexually sovereign basically never consented. Okay, there are degrees of things when it comes to like what a person spends their money on, or decisions that they make, and this is where actually actually honoring patient sovereignty is something that's important to grant them the environment that they need, not violating patient sovereignty. At the same time, questioning into if that's the actual will or that's the trauma. Okay, and this is something that plays an important role. And by that definition, first of all, the hand gestures, I know that when I was tortured, there was hacking into my nervous system to get me to do those hand gestures when I was doing water expense upon cooling. And when I was in Netherlands, and I didn't know what the two means. There was the sneakers and the Heineken with the white sneakers. And this was sneakers is Mark Rutte. I didn't know that, but but that's it's just known to be wearing the sneakers. Um, But that was, yeah. And I don't know if it meant sneakers team or it meant that somebody wanted to threaten sneakers in kidnapping. Um, it's like, and they hack into nervous system of people. This is why sexual sovereignty matters so much, because when I stood for my sexual sovereignty and I fought and I attacked anything that tried to attack me, basically, I could understand more of the symbolisms, and there are still attempts to do that. So no, those hand gestures are completely not volitional, and that means that the crowd that watches that is not consenting, and that's very important. Okay, watching, I don't know, a Taylor Swift video is not consenting to a ritual. That being said, it is participating unbeknownst to us to a ritual that is meant to harvest our energy to an egregore, not necessarily by Taylor Swift. Okay, and that is also important because these people have handlers. In fact, one of the reasons we don't have the full Epstein list, or even the Dutroux list, because Dutroux was singing the minute that Marc Dutroux was arrested, he said, "I'm small link in a big megalithic chain of pretty much all the aristocracy, politics, monarchy, like what." And he was singing, like he was not shutting his mouth on that thing. And if I juxtapose Alandra, a survivor of satanic abuse, and who was supposed to be groomed to be an Epstein, and the Marc Dutroux, then I say, well, of course, the person is caught. He was tortured, and I opened a chart. And by the way, April mentioned ethics. I don't do remote viewing. If a chart is public, then I will view that because the charts that I view have importance to the discourse or are promotional. Like sometimes, I don't know, there were singers coming up with an album, and I would get the preview, and then I would do an episode, um, and I would get kind of the calling to do this chart or that chart. Then I would take a look at the chart, and it would be almost like a pilot. Okay, do they like it? Do they not like it? And so on and so forth. Um, is the energy right? And this is important. The reason Spirit of Matter did not go Netflix is because I did not join the Illuminati, and because the preparation, okay, was already there, and I wanted to have like an interview, which I tried to delineate the chart of a person through that interview online and having a fun and joyous conversation, and then checking to see if I was right with delineating the chart, and that could be a really good concept. And I saw that there was interest. I would receive the energies of the celebrities and so on and so forth, but I did not join with the Illuminati, and that put the full stop um, to that project. And okay, and then in my Pluto square, I did whistleblowers charts. I did atomic whistleblowers charts. Yes, people that work for the intelligence, like Mark Snow and so on. Assange. I participated in the Liberating Assange campaign, for, basically by independent donation of my astrology skills to that campaign. And again, I don't know if there were things behind the scenes, because some people were telling me there was something with children and something like that. Then if that's the case, then I said, then let it be exposed. Um, but that was, and there were other things that were going on in the background, which is how I got exposed to the fact that they also traffic people, or they do things that are quite trafficky, supposedly to close deals behind the scenes. And this is where the charts that I look at are basically charts where, hey, that chart is relevant to decision making on topics that matter to all of us, and we have the right as civilians to know. I don't delineate things that are not relevant to the discourse. Now, because of the whole petering thing and the cloning things, and the fact that each and every person there have handlers, and then some of the, how did I say that? Some of the people even used energies that I know. So there is an academia, pedophile ring and trafficking ring and MK Ultra globally, And it may be the case that the Israeli intelligence developed or helped developing some of the no-touch methods that they supposedly prided themselves in being able to get information without torture or without physical torture, and they could have been gaslighting us about the psychological torture because they were coming to my high school and I was a student to recruit us and to see if we would like to join 8200, which is an intelligence unit. Um, and I was with the people that I took the advice of the people to take French, because those that took Arabic, and 8200 is considered elite unit. So basically, I don't follow the money follows me. Okay, and this is, and I begin to state, okay, well then you need to purify from the cult, or you need to purify from the ritual abuse, or you need to, okay. Um, and that is, mind you, I'm not wealthy because I did not join the Illuminati, so I did not agree to those type of contracts um, that would result in a lot of big fancy things, okay, that wouldn't make my sleep any better. And actually, I had when I was in between houses, I entered a furniture shop to just rest, and I was doing a channeling experiment then, and I met the founder of that mattress shop, and he's a guy who just got to United States with $20 and got connections, probably became an informant, and and he tells me, structurally, what can be, and he tells me that a good night's sleep is not about the mattress, but about um, making the right things, doing the right decisions, doing what is right, and this is, but for those people that are tortured, then attack the torturers if you can. That's the best of doing what is right. Raise even more awareness. That's the best of doing what is right. Um, and so, and that was something that was important for me to come, because I was called to look at that video. And yes, I definitely agree that those megalithic powers are at fault because people want sexual sovereignty. They want to do what is the creative passion in life. They want to make a life while making a living, which financial freedom, okay? Without sexual sovereignty, there is no financial freedom. And there are a lot of people that are entrapped there with tapes and so on. Now, I remember when, I don't remember who was the person that said that. Okay, when a person is in a key position, like a prime minister and so on and so forth, then they keep all the tapes, they keep all the dirt. So they this is probably how prime minister became an unelected position in various countries. So I wanted to do a bingo who has got the tapes of now here's the thing, there was a case because the issue is the wealth consolidation, is not the what they call MK Ultra slaves, which is also our politicians. So I'm not going to, and they do have power, but also like I don't want to concentrate on the yellow name of politician that could be ran by a handler that is recruiting people in academia or something like that. Um, and so, but I have to say there was a case where somebody trained somebody, and that somebody became like prime minister and so on and so forth. And I'm like, a moment of silence, and they wanted to keep it. Now when that other guy became big, that person wanted to kind of show that like they trained them, and I'm like, a moment of silence for people that insisted to show that they taught them how to keep how to do all that stuff. And so uh, and this is a structural thing, okay? For those of you who wonder, hey, why don't you mention that name more often or that name more often? And I'm like, wait, there's a structure here. Whoever is prime minister is basically gets to keep the dirty tapes, to have a coalition. and, And that's just in democracy, okay? For wealth consolidation in like banking system and stuff, then I don't know, that would be the Epsteins and the Detrus, which would have tapes also on judges. And I guess this is why when Detru was arrested, they brought Michel Nihul to safeguard the black box, the mecca of. So for the bingo extortion tapes, definitely all the names that Elizabeth April names probably got them, and the copies are probably disposed. Certain copies are disposed over the lower ranks in the higher positions. Kind of like, think about the most unelected of positions are to do with jurisdiction, because those are the unelected folks. Those are the original unelected folks. And every now in a while, they're like elected by their peers for like indefinite time. And so, and then there is like royal families, and I guess they keep the dirt on each other. And, and then there is democracy, or what we call democracy, which means anybody's president or prime minister gets to keep the mecha books on the colleagues. And this is how basically the control is maintained in what we call democracy. And there are rituals done to get people to vote. and so, and in lower ranks, I guess that goes for the filth on everything. And so, yeah. So that is, for example, Trudy Verstegen. She was a PvdA parliament member in Netherlands, and she's got all the dirt on everybody because she's a cisgender woman and mother. So she actually was raped and married to a banker and so on, rob a banker. And here's the tragedy, because if not for ritual satanic abuse, think about how cool is it to name a bank rob a bank. Now those were duchies. They robbed the silver from Spain, which actually mitigated the inflation. You see, those are cool stuff. And so jewelries, gold and silver, they're better in the hands of the people than in the hands of the bank. In the hands of the bank, it's inflation. In the hands of the people still get to buy food. And the bank is will always have like the bank will bank, I guess. But that's the thing that she was a victim of, but she was basically a whistleblower, and she has all the dirt on everyone. So again, don't mess with sexual boundaries. Okay, if those that violate sexual boundaries, they would get the pissed off women to expose the entire cloning project, and in English. So, so yeah. What's more? And here's the thing: I try to always stay focused on the problem, because, like Elizabeth April said, they want people to be diverted. They want people to be doing other things, to be doom scrolling, or to be name listing without listing the handlers, and the behind gloved hands, and they don't want people to talk about the classified projects budget, which is how they fund this dumb fuckery. It's our taxes, and then the most they want is for people to say, oh, then we shouldn't pay them taxes. Okay, it's not about we shouldn't pay them taxes, it's about there's no problem. I mean, in Israel there was a party that said put Zion in the Kalpi and close the welfare and Bituach Leumi and so on, which is basically when a person is disabled or war veteran, the funding that they receive. And then it's having 7th of October, and everybody lined up. All the people that put Zayin in the Kalpi line up to get to get Bituach Leumi, to get wealth uitkering. And so and this is and what we learned from that is that we the people need to provide those we need to take care of our own, in the sense that whether they're disabled people or whether they're the sexual sovereignty, okay, all the things that would make a society susceptible, which is the 12th house, jail, how we treat our criminals, how we treat the sick people, how we treat the mentally sick people, the fucked up people. Okay, how we treat the crazy folks, and, and how we treat people in our dream state, in astral field, which is also 12th house, and in the bedroom. So and if that's not done, then people will go there because they need housing, or they would go there, okay, and the people say, oh, people sell their freedom for food, don't deserve freedom. Yeah, first of all, those people stole creative power from certain wombs, and now they're doing a tiny houses project that is affordable housing, and like a little bit more on the model, okay, a little bit more on the model, and you have housing first. And the safety cars that run on solar power, the pyramidal cars. Um, so it's kind of like naysayers, but if they steal a creative energy, they will be having to do what that creative energy came to do, even if that was not their agenda. And then Opus Dei, exposed for human trafficking, Mormons exposed for human trafficking, all the way to the Vatican. So, so yeah, like, hey, if you needed the creative powers of my womb to do those changes, you could have simply asked. Like, I would jerk off on that. Like, but when you do that with rape and ritual abuse, then anyway you're gonna have to do what that creative power came to do. It's just that you're mixing yourself with now being, now being forced to do something that, like, you're being forced to go against the cult, because otherwise the backlash on those who stole the energy is like megalithic. And so that is, and yes, and definitely when people sacrifice people, then they end up being sacrificed and so on. Like Elizabeth April says, the people that get into those things, either they're born into that, or they get into that not really knowing, okay, what is this thing, and by the time that they do, there's already a tape of them raping a child, full with drugs, and to get out of that is, yes, but then if we look at Alandra was groomed to be an Epstein, which means he was in a breeding farm, which means that he would be like on tapes all over the place, but he came out as satanic ritual abuse survivor, and naturally we're not thinking to like arrest Alandra, okay? It's kind of like that's so the answers are there, the cures are there, but then those mysterious deaths or the attempts to assassinate people that want to come out of the network, or that begin to act against the network. Again, those that do like the witchcraft stuff, point the energy at the real offenders, and then they will receive more protection as well. Okay, which means that the people that turn against that which is wrong receive more protection from that which is right. When it comes to the psychic powers, And again, I'm not saying this is not a battle. I myself have been dealing with that, and Elizabeth April as well. Waiting for her reply about what to do. In fact, about that. And if there is such a course, then I would let you know. Um, that teaches people to protect. Talismanic companies that I went into, they were either brain hacking to their own nervous systems, or they were kind of doing the double. And again, I'm not sure if they were doing the double or if they were hacked by people that were doing the double and tried to make it look like it's them. Um, but that created a situation where if I want to order a talisman, one talisman was stolen. Two talismans, a couple of talismans, in fact, were stolen from me. And then there are attempts to attack me before the talisman rises. So it's kind of like really challenging to have the transition of ordering a protective talisman. And I'm like, I expect not to be violated, but and but this is awakening to the problem of any type of protection. Okay, protecting type of utensils changing hands. Because I think about people that, let's say, if NATO orders a weapon, then people could try to smuggle that out, and those are problems that people deal with in weapon industry as well. And also when it comes to providing protective talismans and needing to safeguard the passage of the shipping to the client. And definitely if they try to do the Rothschild, I think a lot of the Illuminatis try to do the Rothschild thing of playing both fields and then kind of playing against themselves, and so the house always wins and so on. Then until Gen Zers burn down the house, and that was the parliament. And so that's the time in history where even the Rothschilds had to evacuate their mansions, several of the mansions in Europe. They did biodiversity when everybody was doing, inbreeding, and they actually parted the family. Some did biodiversity and some did inbreeding. And then they had declarations of independence that were more equitable on the rights, and then they had to provide for that because fed up people rebel, and they don't rebel their prime ministers or their this or their that. That's the older generation that still thinks like that and still think that that works or something like that. The younger generation is like, none of that. Everything's lobbying, following the money. Where's the money? Private equity, those big families, and they begin to drop. Now, some of the government that we see dropping are, of course, infiltrators that fund that by the civil war and are funded by the oil giants and so on and so forth. Some of that not. Maybe Elizabeth April wants to do a video into that, remoting viewing into that. So I'm just telepathically sending the message to Age of Aquarius. And the social engineers will probably deliver the message. And so, yeah. So Illuminati was formed in May 1st, 1776, which is around the United States. But again, it's one fraction of society, which is there are a lot of secret societies, all associated with those types of wealth and those types of rituals. So that's the thing. She talks about the White Hats. I saw that the White Hats is a part of an MK Ultra programming. There is the Alice in Wonderland. There is the Oz, and Oz is to attack the handlers, and this is where they also have several hats, and the Mad Hatter, okay, and there are the White Hats. So I don't know if the White Hats are separate from Oz programming of Illuminati, MK Ultra. Sorry, I don't know if it's Illuminati or not. But anyways, it's funded by the classified projects that are a form of economic hitmanship. And yes, so that is, and if there are other type of white hats, now the thing is that the attacking the handlers programming, it is meant to control over all the oppositions, including the opposition to trafficking. Okay, so that is important, and this is done usually um, where they want to expose of a handler that knows too much and so on. And that's why, and by the way, I went through, okay, ritual abuse, I call it second frontier, okay, MK often. Of course, it is felt on the physical body, um, and um, and of course, those things are, you know, and the reason that I don't, and the core thing is the structure of the world consolidation. So I don't know who are the people that were involved, other than like immediate, like the somebody that I was there of in academia, or and I had to run, and from basically trafficking that they were recruiting. I saw that they are mind controlled. Okay, psychologists that I went to that was mind controlled. Other than that, I don't know who are the people involved, and I'll tell you even that because definitely I saw that it was like just kind of like a group thing. But it is also the case that those people have several personalities in them, and so it could simply be one person mind controlled by many people, and so and they could be undergoing abuse at the same time. So, and for me, there's a reason. I even saw handlers try to get, let's say, I don't know, Lars is speaking out, so there would be a handler trying to get at Lars and try to use Lars' energy. Okay, I'm saying Lars because Lars is one of the survivors that are openly speaking. Um, and so, and of course, very likely when they tortured me, then very likely they would use my energy and I would not know about that, and to make it look like I attack people. In the physical ceremonies, people actually do also attack people. In the second frontier or the MK often, then because the person is tortured, then they would have like floaters or they dissociate from the consciousness, and um, and the person doesn't know. Okay, and it would be third parties taking on or shape shifting into the energy of another person. Um, One person that talked about it was Venus, and I don't know if she's doing the double or not. Venus. How should I say that? Protection from trafficking. This is a lady that talked about here as Venus Essentials. Now, because yes, and she's doing all that types of affirmations. For those that read the affirmations, they would try to invert things. They would use the crown chakra, so do crown chakra cleansing. This is all the stuff I picked up from the comments. For this lady, she says it's only for people that don't harm others and so on and so forth. I don't know what she means by that, or if she's double agent or not. And it doesn't work with people that do candle magic. So for me, there are a lot of conditions around the healing where I don't even know what that prescribes to, because of course I don't intentionally harm people, but I don't know if the writer of her programming would be sensitive to that. But she talks about the fact that they would completely try to basically target individuals, try to make them go crazy and so on and so forth, try to get into their own informations or documents and stuff like that. So those are, yes, those are the things that um, that exist along these lines. And so for me, this is why, because I was targeted by MK often, also by MK Ultra, there was an attempt to like physically assassinate me. Um, and yeah, that's uh, but um, but but I was more aware that if I did not see that person in the physical telling me that they did that harm in that energy, then I would not blame someone over nothing. Um, okay, and so and I know that people that do that, they do that when they're mind controlled and all types of rituals. So even when I say conscious perpetrators, I've seen attacks on public figures, and even somebody that prided me that they attacked a public figure, but then they previously also attacked me. So I was like, I don't know who is who in exactly all the thing. I know that there are handlers, and not all of them are visible. And I know that it's in praxis funded by the classified projects funding and uses for wealth consolidation. So instead of wondering who is the real face of the attacker, it's just like back to sender, known and unknown, and okay, cleans the with the chakras and so on, and then to the wealth consolidation. Um, so there was even a case where somebody whose parent died by assassination, they were also on the list, um, and they would use their energy to show as if they are working for the network. And again, you never know if people are putting out the hand gestures because they're mind hacked, because they're doing the rituals, because they want to signal to the world that they're doing the rituals and kind of get rid of attempt to get rid of target. Like there's so many things around that. And I literally told the person that they used their energy to attack me. So again, I don't know, yeah, and they could have personalities that are like mind controlled. So that's definitely the topic of sexual sovereignty came up in that discourse. Um, so that was, yeah, that's a big deal. And when people have, tapes on them and stuff like that, um, it's an even bigger deal. But to go Alandra, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not okay. But to go Alandra, rather than to be assassinated by someone that was violated because of that person, I think is or by someone who's just in the network and they told them to harm this person. Both could. I don't know. I know that Elizabeth April had a video on Charlie Kirk's assassination, but that would be about how they would get those assassinations done.